So, welcome to the Kickass Midlife Method podcast. And tonight we're talking about live to some of the women from the community about the biggest fat loss misunderstanding. So, the overlooked behaviours that can help to drive fat loss, energy, and improve body composition. And the reason we're kind of concentrating on this is because I see it come up quite a lot, and I know that it's something that I also suffer from as well. So, what we're going to cover is why exercise is not the main driver of fat loss, what actually makes up your daily calorie burn, all the different things that go into it, the hidden power of NEAT and what the hell that actually is, how fidgeting and low level movement can impact body fat loss, which some of you might be delighted to hear. And simple ways to increase energy expenditure without adding workouts or making things having to work out harder. So, the biggest misunderstanding, give me a two in the chat. Some of you now know this is not true, but I still think I come across it quite often where people will say if there's an injury or people are going away and they can't exercise, the immediate thought is, I'm going to put on weight because still this association that exercise is the thing that burns calories. So give me a two if you actually have always and often still fall into that thinking of like exercise equals burn. Yeah, I think it's a really common thing, not surprisingly, because the magazines are still full of like the workout that burns, blah, blah, blah. So it's not surprising that a lot of us still think, yeah, I still believe this in part, that obviously you do burn a little bit, but I'll get onto that. So if I exercise more, I'll lose more weight. It's not like that. The exercise is a tiny, small part of your total calorie burn. You cannot out train low daily movement outside of exercise. So if you're spending 1 hour training and 23 hours undoing it, yeah, it's not great. So fat loss is driven firstly by nutrition, so thinking about your nutrition, and then by what happens all day, not just in the gym. And the problem that happens, particularly if you're new to kind of starting exercise, is that you can often think, wow, well, I've done the exercise, I can kind of go and treat myself now. I've burnt so much, I can go and have this. And you really, really have to get out of that kind of thought process. So this is how your body burns calories. So these there's not an exact figure, but this is a general. So your basal metabolic rate. So this is based on, how much muscle you have, your current weight. That burns like 60, 60, your heartbeat, all of that, 62.5%. And then your NEAT, which is your non-exercise activity, just moving around day to day. I say, having sat in this chair for quite a long time today, 21.15%. And thermic effect of food. So when you eat food, the digestion of it uses energy as you digest it. So that can also create a bit of a calorie burn, 9.62%, and then exercise, so 6.73. Just think about that. So that's really, sorry, Alex, is that a dog's nose in your, yeah. So 6.73. So it's really important for you to kind of really think about that exercise, and I'm not saying exercise is not necessary. It really is because that builds your muscle, which helps for your longevity. It helps your insulin response. And also exercise makes you feel good. It releases serotonin. So it's really good for your mind. But if you're thinking for body composition, losing body fat, you've got to stop thinking, I'm going to burn it and do more exercise. And the harder I work out, the more I'm going to burn. So your baseline metabolism, your BMR, calories burned just to stay alive. So, as I was saying, what affects it is your current muscle mass, your weight, your age a little bit, hormones, and dieting history. And by dieting history, I mean that if you've dieted a lot and in the past yo-yoed, lost lots of weight and put it on, is likely because of the narrative around dieting that you lost muscle. So therefore, that's lowered your BMR, and therefore makes fat loss harder. Doesn't make it impossible. It's about rebuilding your muscle. Exercise, which is eat, planned workouts, gym classes, runs, 5 to 10% of daily burn. Again, as I said, easy to overestimate. Even if you work out really hard and you've done a really, I shouldn't use that word, if you progressively overload or you've done a hit style workout, it's really easy to overcompensate and think, well, I can eat more because of that, or I've done everything, I can now sit and spend the rest of the day sitting down. So really think about that exercise for your strength, fitness, mood, and muscle, but not your fat loss driver. And then, as I said, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So this is things like walking and standing, climbing stairs, taking the elevator and sorry, taking the stairs instead of the elevator, uh, cleaning, house tasks, moving around, life admin, movement all add up. Fidgeting, if you're a kind of fidgety person, and always getting up and down, moving around, that's quite good. So your NEAT varies massively, and it can differ by up to 1,000 calories per day. So I know, for instance, we have Ingrid's not here right now, but Ingrid works for the NHS. And so she gets a lot of this from walking around all the time. And I know that she's often training for ultra cycling races. And what she does is literally always uses the stairs in the hospital. She never uses the lift. She always uses that just to even add to her endurance training. Um, so why does this matter in midlife? Well, more desk time, sedentary jobs, maybe you're a bit more senior and so you sit down more, um, higher stress, again, more sitting fatigue. I get this as well. You feel more tired, particularly at night. So maybe when we were younger, you'd go out a little bit more. Now you kind of fall into that, like, oh, I just watch TV, endless back to back. I'm on the pit for the Netflix at the moment, which I'm like endless back to back. So you move less without realizing it, and that can have like over 7 hours of a day sitting, rising mortality risk, 5%. 5% increased risk per extra hour beyond that. So 34% high risk at 10 hours per day, over 10 hours a day. So it really does have an impact, not just on actually how many can you burn, can you kind of use more energy up by moving around and sitting. It's also, as most of you probably realize now, because it's in the news all the time, petting the dog, yes, that's a good one, all the time, it's higher mortality risk from sitting. So this is the real problem, and I'm seeing this quite a lot. And I say I'm guilty of this a little bit as well. You do 3 to 4 workouts per week, and then you spend the rest of the time sitting down. You're all quite busy, so you just think, oh, just finish this, and therefore you're sitting down all the time. And then you go from your office desk or your home office desk, and then you go to the sofa at night, and there's minimal movement between tasks. So, what I want you to all think about is how can I move more across the entire day rather than just thinking of the workouts, because it will have an effect. As many of you know, because I've spoken to lots of you in your check-ins, that a 250 calorie deficit creates a zero point 0.2 kilos of weight loss per week. That equates to about £10 every 6 months, so almost 2 stone in a year. Similarly, you can create another 250 just by moving a little bit more. And I'm not asking you to extra or think about another extra thing. It's how can you add it to what you're doing already? So, like, for instance, when you take a call, and it doesn't necessarily, I know sometimes that could be hard at work, but can you take a call and take it walking? Can you get up from your desk every 60 to 90 minutes, even if it's just to do 10 squats by your desk and sit back down again? Can you do a standing desk, park further away from work and take the stairs instead of the elevators, get off the bus 2 stops ahead, the tube or the train, and walk the last bit. Do your house tasks a little bit faster than you would do normally. I've started to set some of you a daily step baseline. It's a little bit difficult, the step count, I think, because sometimes when you're starting adding things like 10,000 steps, it's like a long time in your day. So actually, I think sometimes more effective to start thinking about what can you do day to day. It's not another thing that you've got to add, but you can just adapt from what you're already doing. So what I'm going to do from next Monday, you don't have to join. I'm going to set it up as a separate challenge in the community where you've got to commit for 2 weeks to this neat challenge to start you getting to moving more regularly. I'm going to do it too. You would, if you want to do it, you have to tell me in the tell me tomorrow or tell your coach, either in the group or direct message that you want to be part of it. You're going to go into a separate challenge group, and you will tick off a habit every day in your calendar. So we have to put the habit on. You also need to post in the group. So that's the only additional thing you've got to do. Either post in the group a picture of you doing it with you in it, or a little video in it, either in the group or on social media. So it can be anything. It could be literally like, I'm going to take my camera and I'm just going to get up and down in work. That's it. And film it, post it. That's it. And make it consistent, make it count. And you're going to get a prize for the winning woman at the end of the 2 weeks, um, to help get some accountability around this kind of moving more intentionally, all the time. Like, for instance, Helen, drinking your cup of tea at the moment. Like, it could be like, I'm going to drink a cup of tea, but I'm going to stand up drinking my cup of tea. Just it doesn't have to be, oh God, I've got another thing I've got to bloody do now. It's just what are you doing already that you can just adapt, you know? I try and use my, I've got a mantelpiece and I try and use my laptop on that. So I'm standing at doing some calls instead of sitting down. So it's just trying to think what is in your day-to-day life that you're not thinking about at the moment that you could really easily adapt to start moving more intentionally, not just in your workouts. And then to remember always that you exercise for your mind, muscle, and mobility and long-term mobility. And your nutrition and your daily movement should be around your body fat, if body fat is your goal at the moment.